Hello, I'm Barbara Leland, and I do the healthy eating classes here at Hoag. And I'm a certified holistic health practitioner in Huntington Beach. And today we're going to get started on our class right now. So, in today's world, what doesn't give us anxiety? There's coronavirus, there are killer wasps, politics, dissension. It seems every time we turn on our phone or our TV or our computer, there's something that's making our heart race. And that's just anxiety that concerns world affairs. We also have personal anxiety for our own individual health situations. But these are situational anxiety stimulators, and we'll talk about some things that might help that at the end of the discussion. But right now, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, food, and how food can affect your anxiety. So, although food can't make up for conditions that need professional care and help, a deficiency in vitamins and minerals and other nutrients can affect your brain health and contribute to anxiety. Our first example would be B vitamins, and they work together to maintain a healthy nervous system. They're referred to as stress busters because B complex is so effective in helping us deal with the stress in our lives. Luckily, B complex are found in many foods. So animal products that contain B complex, including B12, are dairy products, eggs, those are highest in B7 and they're best absorbed when cooked, fatty fish like salmon, and meat products. Vegetable products that are abundant in B complex are asparagus. And asparagus, by the way, in 2013, China approved asparagus extract as a natural functional food that helps with anxiety. So that's kind of interesting. Other items are dark leafy vegetables, legumes, nuts and seeds, in particular sunflower seeds and almonds, whole grains. And it's important to note that vegetable products, again, do not contain B12. So vegans need to include foods that have been fortified with B12 or take a B12 supplement. So vitamin C can lower your anxiety levels and be a mood booster. So if you use essential oils, you might find that if you diffuse orange oil into your room, it can increase your mood, lighten your mood, and decrease your stress. It's very uplifting. Anyway, back to vitamin C, it reduces the secretion of cortisol, and cortisol is the hormone that triggers the fight or flight response to stress. So maybe if you're planning on meeting a lion, you don't want to eat that orange. Some of the highest sources of vitamin C, of course, we know oranges. We are all familiar with the vitamin C in citrus fruits. But also, broccoli, cup for cup, has more vitamin C than oranges. Peppers also, cup for cup, have twice as much vitamin C as oranges. So yes, citrus fruits are great sources for vitamin C, but there are other sources as well. Vitamin D is known as the sunshine vitamin. And this deficiency is up because we spend more and more time sitting in the office, at our computers, in front of the television. We're not out in the sunshine. We're not outdoors. So really, to increase your vitamin D, you want to spend some time outdoors. It isn't as easy to get vitamin D in our foods as it is to get B and C. So some of the things that do contain vitamin D are swordfish, fatty fish such as salmon, egg yolks, and tuna also, salmon and tuna. And those are some of the highest food sources. But plant-based foods do not contain vitamin D, except if you put mushrooms in the sun for 30 to 60 minutes, and about between the hours of 10 and 3, preferably, those mushrooms are going to absorb the vitamin D just like your skin does. Then when you eat the mushrooms, you reap the benefits. And they retain a good amount of the D even when you store them in the fridge, up to about a week. After that, the mushrooms are going to go bad anyway. So stir-frying the mushrooms would retain more vitamin D than boiling them or roasting them. And stir-frying retains about 85% of the vitamin D, and boiling and roasting retains about 50%. So no matter how you cook them, you're still going to get some of the vitamin D, but sit them out in the sunshine. And there are many foods that are fortified with vitamin D as well. Then the best source of vitamin D is sunshine, which, as I said, 20 minutes a day, several times a week, and it doesn't take much. You want to have your skin exposed, and the amount of sunscreen you use, as well as the amount of pigmentation in your skin, can affect the absorption rate of vitamin D. So I'm not saying don't use sunscreen at all. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is do be aware that if you're using sunscreen, it will affect the absorption rate. So you might need to spend a little bit more time in the sun. Also, where you live plays a part in how much vitamin D we get. The further north you live, the more you need to be aware about getting sufficient sunshine. So, happy neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers in the nervous system that influence how our bodies react to stress, among other things. Certain mineral deficiencies can cause an imbalance in these messengers and create symptoms of anxiety. So, in order to have a good balance of these happy neurotransmitters, we want to make sure we're getting enough of the minerals that keep these working, specifically magnesium, calcium, potassium, and zinc. So magnesium is very easy to get in our diet. Some of the plant-based foods, such as avocados and bananas, are very high in magnesium. Broccoli and other dark leafy greens, raw kale, cooked collard greens. So it's interesting, collard greens and raw kale are both high in magnesium, but when you cook the collard greens, it shoots up, but when you eat the kale raw, that has a higher amount than cooked kale. So you want to eat your kale raw and cook your collard greens. Spinach has a high amount of magnesium, but because of the high amount of oxalates in the spinach, it blocks the absorption. So you want to cook your spinach, and that reduces the oxalates. Legumes, especially black beans and soybeans are both very high in magnesium. And garbanzo, navy beans, all those are very good, but black beans and soybeans in particular. The potatoes, you want to make sure when you make your potatoes, you keep your skin on. Eat the skin, and that's where you're going to get your nutrients. There are nutrients in the flesh as well, but you want to really benefit from it. Nuts and seeds, especially Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are very high, and pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds also very high. And then in animal products, fish, especially halibut, but salmon and tuna are also good sources of magnesium. And of course, we can't forget dessert. So dark chocolate, 70% or more cocoa, is a great source of magnesium and a delicious way to get it. And also a non-food way to get magnesium is to take some Epsom salts and sprinkle them in your bath, about a cup in warm water, and you're going to absorb the magnesium from the Epsom salts from your bath. You're going to absorb it through your skin. And also the lavender that you see there, that's just to give you more relaxation, and it smells wonderful. So a nice little bath treat. But remember that some medicines may decrease magnesium absorption, so ask your doctor if you have any concerns. Antibiotics or high doses of zinc and some osteoporosis medicines may affect your absorption. So again, ask your doctor. Calcium helps ease anxiety by working with magnesium to provide a calming effect. Calcium needs some fat with it in order to absorb the nutrient, and as well as vitamin D. Your best choices for calcium, we know, are dairy products. So cheese, milk, and yogurt. For cheese, hard cheeses such as Parmesan or Pecorino Romano are better sources than soft cheeses. And milk and yogurt, Okay, that's interesting. So non-fat and low-fat dairy contain higher amounts of calcium. However, because of the reduced fat, you don't absorb the calcium as well. So you're really better off to drink the whole milk to get the calcium absorption. Dark leafy greens, especially collard greens again, cooked. Kale, again raw. Rapini or broccoli rabe, if you're familiar with that, that's the broccoli that has the lots and lots of leaves on it, very little head, very little bit of the top part, but lots of leaves. And that's very high in calcium. Broccoli is too, but not quite as high as the rapini or broccoli rabe. And remember, since calcium likes fat, consider drizzling it with some olive oil and eating it al fresco to include some D as well. And then fish with edible bones, so sardines or canned salmons, those are all good choices for calcium. Other choices would be almonds. So almonds have the highest amount of calcium in nuts, and cup to cup, they contain more calcium than milk. But they have about 4 times the calories of whole milk, plus you don't usually sit down to a whole cup of almonds. So it's a good choice, but you're not going to get the full amount for almonds as you would with milk. And also, so you'd say, well, what about almond milk? Because that has all the fat, most of the fat is gone from almond milk. But the problem with that is that there is no calcium in the almond milk. Okay, so back to white beans. White beans are very good, boiled. Soybeans also. Seeds are poppy seeds, sesame, and chia. All of those are very high. Raw spinach, again, cooked to reduce those oxalates so you can absorb it. So we talked about our happy neurotransmitters, and one of those neurotransmitters is serotonin. Potassium helps the brain utilize serotonin to make us feel good. Even a slight decrease in potassium levels can make us feel anxious. But luckily, again, nature provides us with an ample supply of potassium. So in fruits, we have avocado. Avocado is very high, 728 milligrams, which is 15% of your daily requirement. Bananas are high, cantaloupe, and kiwi. For vegetables, we have, again, broccoli rabe. Broccoli rabe is what I told you, that avocado was 728 milligrams, which is 15%. For 1 cup of broccoli rabe cooked, it's 1,499 milligrams, and that's 32% of your daily requirement. Beet greens, the picture in the middle, that cooked beet greens contain 28% of your minimum of your requirement. And if you haven't had cooked beet greens, it's very simple. A lot of times the grocer will throw them away, or you'll chop them off and throw them away when you get home. But a couple of things about beet greens. You want to look at the beet greens when you go to the store, and that will give you the indication of how fresh your beets are, number one. If they're nice and plump and green and not wilted, that's what you're looking for. Then you come home from the market, you cut off your beet tops, store them separately from your beets, but you want to eat them pretty soon. And then when you're ready to eat them, chop up the leafy part and chop up the stems. Boil the stems first in some water, then add the leafy part to the stems, and just until they're wilted. Turn the heat off, throw in some olive oil and some lemon and some garlic, and voila, you have horta. Horta is a Greek dish that's very delicious, super good for you. You're going to eat the greens, the stems, and the broth. Okay, off my soapbox there about beet greens. And so bok choy is good for you for potassium. Spinach, cooked, and Swiss chard also. All of those are good for potassium. Other sources would be kidney beans, nice and high, salmon, and tomato sauce. Tomato products that are cooked are going to contain high levels of potassium, not so much the raw potatoes. But too much potassium can be dangerous if you have kidney problems. So this doesn't happen really if you obtain your potassium through food, but if you're taking supplements, it can, and so make sure you ask your doctor. Zinc also helps your brain cope with stress by helping with the utilization of neurotransmitters. So again, to keep those happy neurotransmitters, we can get zinc from shellfish, such as shrimp, and sea mollusks, such as oysters, clams, and scallops. Interesting thing, I looked up oysters, clams, and scallops because I was having a little bit of, I don't know, discomfort thinking about them boiling in the water. And there are vegans who consider oysters, clams, and scallops to be a vegan product because they don't have a nervous system. So if you're feeling squeamish about them, I guess you don't have to worry so much. If the vegans will eat them, you can too. Okay, plant foods also such as cashews, pumpkin seeds, and hemp hearts are also a really good source. Then we're leaving the minerals and we're going into fermented foods. So fermented foods, it's found that our gut health plays a large part in how our bodies react to stress and our anxiety levels. Fermented foods, probiotic foods, can help bring that good bacteria back into our gut. So some examples of fermented foods would be kefir and yogurt, kimchi, kombucha. Kombucha is a fermented tea. If you're not familiar with it, it's very good. Sauerkraut and pickles. Pickles don't have to be pickled cucumbers. They can be pickled cauliflower, pickled radishes. There's all kinds of things that can be pickled and provide the probiotics of fermented foods. So what about supplements? Chemotherapy can reduce certain levels of certain vitamins and minerals, but check with your doctor before taking supplements. Even though you feel you might be low in certain items, certain vitamins and minerals, do check with your doctor because some supplements can reduce the effectiveness of treatment and actually work against you. So those are the items that help our bodies deal with stress. It's not like if you eat a beet top, you're going to calm down. But these are things that work over time. If you're deficient in these items, then you're going to reap the benefits of lowered anxiety as you incorporate them into your diet. But sometimes we need things that are going to help us calm down right now. So herbs and teas can help us at the moment. One of those herbs would be CBD, which is cannabidiol. It reduces stress levels and has a calming effect. It won't get you high. That may make you sad, but don't worry, it won't make you high. It's non-psychotropic. There's no THC in it, and especially when it's derived from hemp plants. It's usually found as an oil, an extract, or a capsule. You're not going to smoke it. And it can cause drowsiness, but many people find that it doesn't. Chamomile, which is a beautiful daisy-like flower, it's a nervine, and a nervine is an herb tonic that supports the nervous system. It decreases cortisol, and remember cortisol is that fight or flight hormone, and it's mostly found as a dried tea. You can also take the chamomile flowers, steep them in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes and make a tea that way as well. It has a light floral, herbal, real pretty taste. Green tea, the reason green tea is good for anxiety is it contains something called L-theanine, which is an amino acid that helps to reduce that hormone cortisol again. It's traditionally used as a dried tea, although we're finding it now in ice cream and cookies and all kinds of things. But really to get the benefit, you might want to have it as the tea. You can also find it as an extract or supplement. It has low levels of caffeine, and it doesn't produce a jittery effect because of the L-theanine, but still it does have some caffeine. So if you're sensitive to caffeine, you may not want to have that green tea at night. It has a grassy, earthy taste, and I find it delicious. And then passion flower. Passion flower, look at that beautiful flower. It boosts levels of GABA, which is one of the happy neurotransmitters. It's relaxing and calming. It helps to lower brain activity. And so like when you're trying to sleep at night and you've got that monkey brain going on and all those things going through your head from the day, some passion flower can help that. It can be found as an extract or tea, and it has a very mild grassy taste, kind of earthy and slightly floral. And then another one is valerian root, and that also boosts levels of GABA, and I think I said that GABA is one of our happy neurotransmitters. And it's usually found as a tea or extract. It may cause sleepiness. Scratch that. It will cause sleepiness. It's best taken 30 minutes before bedtime. And here's the thing I don't like about it is that I think it smells horrible. And I don't like the taste of it either. But when it's combined with another herb, so for example in a tea, you don't really taste it. And it's very effective. There's a tea called Sleepy Time, and I'm not promoting Sleepy Time, but they have a Sleepy Time just blank, just Sleepy Time, and then also they have a Sleepy Time Extra. The Sleepy Time Extra will knock me out, and it is the valerian that's the extra in the Sleepy Time. And then these teas and extracts are generally safe, but some medications may have interactions with herbs, so check with your doctor if you have any questions. Now we're going to talk about things that you want to reduce or avoid in your diet to help with your anxiety. And sorry to say, alcohol can temporarily reduce social anxiety, and that's the reason why many of us turn to it, but it also changes levels of serotonin and other neurotransmitters in the brain, which can worsen anxiety. So you may feel more anxious after the alcohol wears off. The alcohol-induced anxiety can last for several hours or even for an entire day after drinking, especially if you don't remember what you did the night before. Then you are certainly going to be anxious about the night that you were drinking. But even moderate amounts of alcohol can affect one's mood and anxiety level. Caffeine is a stimulant. It raises cortisol levels. So again, the cortisol, fight or flight, and it gives us jittery effects, can give us jittery effects, and those jittery effects are similar to a frightening event. So studies show that this can make anxiety worse and can even trigger an anxiety attack. Candy and sweets, another sadness. This is a tricky one because sugar actually reduces cortisol, and so it makes us feel happy. It makes us feel less stressed for the moment. You get a sugar high, your blood sugar levels go up quickly, making you feel high, but then you crash and you feel anxious and jittery. So people who have hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, truly experience anxiety as a result of their sugar levels going down way too quickly. Also, when we eat sugar on a regular basis, maybe in response to the stress we're feeling, we become more reliant on that sweet stuff, and we raise the risk of sugar-induced ailments like diabetes and other obesity and things that are going to affect our health. Then when we quit processed sugar because we know it's not good for us and we want to get healthy, we may experience withdrawal side effects, one of those being increased anxiety. So it's like a vicious cycle. We feel anxious, we reach for sugar. We feel better, then we feel worse. We reach for sugar. We become addicted, we try to quit. We go through withdrawals, we reach for sugar to feel better. So it's a vicious cycle, and you really just have to work through it. You just have to get past it to get to the other side. So the last thing that we want to talk about avoiding is processed foods. And processed foods are usually high in sodium and sugar, and fats, and those would be saturated and trans fats, and all of those contribute to inflammation. So not only does inflammation cause disease in our body, it also can affect areas of the brain that control anxiety levels. So, a note about anxiety and inflammation. Stress can increase inflammation in the body, and inflation can create anxiety. So it's another vicious cycle like sugar was. Everyone benefits from an anti-inflammatory diet, but people who have anxiety should be doubly aware of the effects. So basically, you want to keep calm and do your best. Increase the foods that help you, decrease the foods that don't. And look at the common denominator. That's whole foods, mostly plants. So if you have any questions, please type them in, and I'll get to them as soon as you've typed them in. And then if you have questions after the presentation, please feel free to email me at 2life2health at hotmail.com, or visit me on my website at 2life-2health.com. And come back next week on Thursday the 30th at 2 o'clock for a cooking demo, and we'll use some of the foods that we've been talking about that can make us go om. So I have some questions here. How many minutes should someone be in the sun each day? 20 to 30 minutes, and it's not really, it doesn't have to be each day. It can be a few times a week. 20 to 30 minutes a few times a week. Is there calcium in homemade almond milk? No, there isn't. When you're separating out the juice or the liquid from the almond milk, from the almonds, you're losing the calcium. However, store-bought almond milk does increase, they do put calcium into the store-bought almond milk, but not homemade. Can I share recipes? Yes, I will be sending out recipes, or Hogue will be sending out recipes for the class for next week by probably Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And then if you have questions about other recipes, please contact me and we can talk. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do on a daily basis for energy? Well, on a daily basis for energy, I do pretty much eat this way. I find this a very energizing diet. Mostly whole foods, mostly plants, and that does keep my energy level up. Another thing is food combining. This is like another subject. I don't want to get too far into it, but food combining also matters how you eat, the foods you eat together, because it plays on your digestion. And your digestion has plays a big part in your energy levels. How much skin needs to be exposed to get, well, just go naked. The question was, how much skin needs to be exposed to get enough vitamin D? As much as you can. As much as you can. You know, your bathing suit is great, but if you have your arms, and your face and even your legs exposed, that's great. If you can only do your arms, that's, all of that helps. If you're all covered up, then you're going to have a problem. You're not going to absorb it. Again, and same with the sunscreen. Recipes for next week's class will be sent out Monday or Tuesday.
What are they?
Oh, what are they? We'll find out on Monday or Tuesday. Sorry, I don't have them written up yet. Any other questions? Is that it? Okay, then we'll see you next Thursday, and let me know if you have any questions about today's lecture, and look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Thank you.